Ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
Yeah. The city of Detroit deserves a winner. A team that can win in the clutch. A team that can inspire, conquer, and cultivate championships. You deserve a podcast that can do the same. Everything you need, from NFL teams to the NBA franchises. My name is Avery Giavonni, and this is the Spirit of Detroit. You like that intro, huh?
You do. That's solid.
Yeah, thank you. Oh man, I feel good. I'm with the legend himself. It took a lot of interviews to get to this. It took a lot of interviews to get to this point. We got a college scout in the building. We got a college scout in the building. It took a lot of work. You know how many bozos been on this channel? We had to weed them out. There were some guys that was fraudulent. But I'm here with Bill Carroll. Obviously, this is your host, Avery Giavonni. This is Bill Carroll, man. CDS Scouting, Nuts and Bolts EP, Oakland News fan, ATB Network. I'm just reading from the LinkedIn, because you're actually official. You actually get paid to do this and have conversations about prospects. That's beautiful. How many NFL teams have you talked to in your tenure?
At some point or another, I've talked to all but one of them, and that's because the Patriots don't talk to anybody. They're like Russia in 1963. It's very closed off, very insular.
Okay.
But if you go to enough pro days, you go to enough combines, you start. And I only talk to a handful regularly. There's like 4 or 5 guys I talk to regularly. The rest of them, you catch them, whatever.
Who you talk to regularly? Can I know what teams?
I'll give you some teams. I won't give you names. There's a guy with the Colts I've talked to regularly for some time. There's a guy with the Green Bay I've talked to regularly for some time. Of course.
Oh no.
I talked to whoever. Now, I would like to get to know somebody with the Lions. The Lions have had a lot of turnover in their scouting department. The guy I did used to know is now working for a IMG. Actually, he works for IMG down in Florida now. But he used to be a Lion scout like 2 crews ago. Like they've had a fair amount of turnover over there. So you have to go back this would have been when Rod Marinelli was the coach, and they had a couple of different sets of. They've gone through some different people, but yeah, he was a cool dude. And shout out to Kerry if he's listening. But right. Yeah, there's been a few guys for a few different teams, and like I said, there's a small number I talk to on a regular basis because one, they trust me and they'll give me things, and they don't share them because if you burn a source, that's gone forever. So don't ask me specifics because I can't give them to you.
Right. Okay. See, I'm dealing with major money here. This is a major move right here. So since I'm dealing with this, I'm going to operate in anonymity. What teams, have talked to you the most? Not people, just teams have talked to you the most, and keep that correspondence going. I know you said Indianapolis.
The 2 teams I've talked to the most in this draft run up. And basically at this point, I've stopped talking to them because they can't tell the truth at this point. Everyone will talk to you, but they'll lie to you at this point. So I just stopped talking.
At this point.
But the Panthers and the Colts, I've had the most conversations with those 2. Oh. And mostly it's just them asking about guys they see late down the board. And that you always hear, well, the NFL will find you. Well, the NFL will sort of find you. But to be perfectly honest, they spend most of their time on the guys that are towards the top of the board, which makes sense. You're investing most of your time and energy in the guys you're going to see come off the board day 1, day 2.
Yeah.
When they're looking at guys who might go in the 6th, 7th, maybe an undrafted, they don't devote a lot of time and energy, but they know I devote a lot of time and energy to those guys. So they'll ask me, hey, we like this kid. We saw him at the College Gridiron, showcase game, but we didn't do much work on him. Is it worth doing more work? And I'll let them know if it's worth doing more work. If that's a guy you should put some more time into.
So it's safe to say you've talked to NFL teams. So we're going to get in these prospects because we got an official person here, okay? Any information I'm leaving out on your credentials. I want,
we don't have to spend any more time on my credentials.
Okay.
I want us to spend time on the people who matter, the players.
Okay. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get to it. I'm gonna get my my itinerary set up because I was just enamored with me and you were talking about the Army. You're a former Army guy.
Yeah, I've had a little bit. I learned a little bit. The Army got a little bit out of me. I think I got a little bit more out of the Army. And like I said, for the right kind of person, I highly recommend it. If you don't mind being pushed, being tested, being challenged, it's a great way to find out what you've got inside.
Right. It just makes me happy to talk to or meet people who have done what I've done, and been places I haven't been, and it makes me feel better to know that there's veterans out there still reaching out to young soldiers like myself.
Always. We'll talk more about that, I promise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's see what we got here. I gave you. Oh man, I can't find it.
I'm assuming we're going to start with talking about players that you want to target for your particular team, the Lions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know where my itinerary went, but yes.
Well, let's start with what your team currently has and places where your team wants to build. Okay. You still don't have that guy pass rusher that every team is worried about when they take on the Lions. You don't have a Khalil Mack or an Aaron Donald on the interior. You don't have that guy, or even a guy like Chandler Jones, a guy where it's like the other team's like, oh my God, how do we handle this guy?
Yeah.
This is a great year to get that guy. There are terrific pass rushers to be had 5 rounds deep. Mm-hmm. They may not have everything the guys at the top have, but you're going to find guys who'll get 6.5, 7.5, 8 sacks.
Do you believe when we're picking at 2 that this prospect has to be a complete prospect? Do you believe that necessarily?
I'm of the mindset that if I'm picking that early, I shouldn't have to put up with you not being ready to go. I mean, there's a few exceptions, but if I'm picking this early, I want everything. I want you to have high football character. I want you to have production. I want you to be a physical freak. I want you to have incredible work ethic, have leadership potential. If not, why not trade down? But projects are fun later. But I'm not taking a project of the first couple of picks.
Okay, so no Malik Willis, huh?
I love Malik Willis, but I don't love Malik Willis at 2. There's a place for Malik for 2 reasons. One is you automatically going to have more pressure to play him early. If you take a guy that early, every team says, oh, we're going to wait. But what happens? By about week 7, what happens? Right? Especially if your team's not doing well.
Right.
So the last time a team took a guy early and didn't play him, it was Carson Palmer. Right? At all. That's how far back you got to go when you take a guy all the way at the top of the first and you managed to resist the temptation. I mean, even Patrick LaVon Mahomes Jr. started a game right into the season, like the last week.
Right.
Most teams.
10. He
right.
was 10, right?
And he was right. He's pick 10. So I'm saying if you're picking at pick 2, the pressure, unless your team is playing incredible football every week, right? Talk radio's on fire. You can't go to the store without people asking, are you going to play the kid? I mean, teams say we don't listen, but they all listen. Now, some listen more than others. Like some realize that these are fans, they're a bunch of idiots. I mean, they don't say that to you guys because they want you to think they love you. But there are definitely some teams that are not always that in love with their fans. I mean, they love what you do and that you're there and that, the money is flowing. But there are some teams that, frankly, sometimes wish they could do it without having to depend on the fans. Once again, we'll talk off air about teams that don't really love their fan base. The good news is that is not your team. Your team is building a good, strong relationship. I think from Holmes on down, they truly want to bring the community, like to have its arms around the team and vice versa.
Right.
And you notice how they've started bringing back some of the old Lions that weren't around the team anymore.
Right.
That's part of that, right? That's part of it. They're working on making people feel like this is your team, right?
Right. And that's
what they want.
That's wonderful. I'm looking at culture signings, and I know that's necessary.
Yep.
I've talked about that before, that you can't close the door on all these guys that have 1-year deals. You have to bring them back because it's part of the culture. It's culture. What I want to see from the Lions now is I want to see a draft that I can depend on, because that first draft was great. It was amazing in my mind. Yep. You got Amon-Ra late. You went against the grain. You got Sewell, which I thought was great.
Yep.
But this draft is important to build momentum, and I think a lot of people looking at the top of the draft, you don't have those complete prospects. Aiden Hutchinson has been under complete, targets from the Detroit fan base because he has one move or he has two moves or all this nonsense, and you turn on the tape and we're going to definitely get into Kyle Hamilton and all these great. You have some very interesting ideas on Kyle Hamilton, contrast to mine, but good,
because who wants an echo chamber? I like contrasting views.
Right. So I'm gonna definitely get into KT as the pick. This is Micro Mike. He's a Detroit YouTuber, probably one of the most successful ones, if not Gridiron Blitz. And he believes KT is a pick. We've had 7.
I agree with him. Tell Micro Mike he and I agree. For more than 2 reasons. But now you have a pass rusher that forces people to slide protection his way. Hutchins is a really good player, a very good player. But here's the things you'll love about him. He is going to be that guy that's first to the facility. He's going to be a guy that gets guys going. He's going to call guys up and say, come lift with me and all that other stuff. Like, he's going to be that guy.
Is he?
At Hutchinson, yes.
Oh, yeah, Hutchinson. Yeah.
And some of the stuff people are hearing about Thibodeau, I would like to remind people it is lying season. Some of the stuff that's being put out there is teams that want him to fall to 6 or fall to whatever, hoping that a team like yours will not pick him up. This is what I'm telling you. You didn't hear any of this stuff in November, right? Do you notice that you were hearing this bad stuff in November? Did you notice that? I just want to put this in context.
I was hearing
all this bad stuff that you were hearing came after the season was over, after all the football had been played. Right? So if a kid doesn't love football, who's the consensus #1 pick on almost everyone's board, has a high ankle sprain that'll keep him out for a few weeks, and everyone says, just shut it down. And he doesn't. He rehabs and comes back and plays. What does that tell you? He has nothing to gain by coming back and playing, and does it anyway. So all this, he doesn't love football stuff. Come on, people, really? It's just, I don't know. It's Bravo Sierra. I'll put it in Army. Bravo Sierra.
Okay. So you say we need. I think Raw Detroit agrees with you. We need dogs. We don't have any dogs. We just have guys. They just got Jared Davis, just random guys off the street. I can probably play for them. They probably gonna call me up pretty soon. Jared Goff, what do you think of him? Is he just a guy that we need to upgrade? Is this at least sometime in the near future?
So I think you probably do take a quarterback at some point, but he's more likely a guy who's going to be a backup. You take somebody you think has some skills, maybe a guy like Carson Strong or a guy like Matt Corral, somebody, you're not taking right at the top of the draft. So there's no pressure. And you can, and worst case scenario, he becomes a backup for you.
Okay.
This is not the year, in my opinion, to be taking your future starter at the top of the draft. None of these guys amongst the quarterback class are a sure thing. Okay. The one who's the most talented and gives you the most hope is Malik Willis, but he's still a project. There's a lot of work that's going to go into Malik.
Right.
And I'm a fan. This is not me being down on him. But I also want what's best for him. And if he goes super early to a team that's going to get pressured to play him early, it's going to be rough.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The argument with Malik was sound. I think that was very sound. When we hear, certain YouTubers, especially in the Detroit space, they say things like, his intangibles don't matter, and what about the Ole Miss game? It's all this. It's almost like a straw man argument. You actually used, I can tell you're thinking about Malik objectively.
Yes.
So I respect that. I appreciate that.
I have no axe to grind. I think he does become a long-term starter. I think it takes a while for him to get there. So if you're a team that wants immediate impact from the draft, he's not a guy you should be thinking about, first of all. Okay. So let's start with that.
We're just trying to get to 6 wins. That's where we're at. We're at
okay. So I'm going to give you some guys that'll help you get to 6 wins. Now, as much as I love KT, and I am a Thibodeau guy, you might want to consider Charles Cross. Now, nobody will like that pick. People will riot in the streets. They'll slanderize your name, and they'll burn black candle and claim they'll never support team again, blah blah blah. But you have Penei Sewell, who is tremendous. If you put Sewell and Cross next to each other, now you have a dominant duo at tackling guard. Now, I understand that's not the sexy pick. I'm just saying you want to get to 6 wins. You want to have a dominant run game and it'll help your pass game too. But the pick that I think it will be, I still think it's going to be Thibodeau. And I think Thibodeau ends up coming in and produces right away. A lot of the stuff, like I said, that you're hearing about him is just that. It's stuff, right? Oh, but he didn't do, all of the – well, he was going to do all of the drills, and then they changed the schedule from years past, so he has to do everything back to back. I mean, what would you do? You just got finished not too long ago rehabbing from a high ankle sprain. Now they're saying linebacker drills and your DN drills are going to happen back to back instead of there being a break like in previous years. They changed the format of the combine for who knows why. I don't know if they got bored. Right. I don't get invited to those meetings, unfortunately, Avery. I don't know why they changed things that weren't broke. But for some reason this year they changed it so that's why so few. It wasn't just him. Look, for some reason people only paid attention to Thibodeau, but there were other guys who originally planned to do both the defensive end and linebacker drills who opted out because they did them back to back. Because that's exhausting. I mean,
wow, right? That's impressive. I didn't know about the other guys.
There were others, yeah. He was just the most famous one. He's the one everyone focused on, but there were other guys who did.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't resemble Trey Flowers in any way. The only thing they have in common is they play the same position. Trey Flowers was a poor man's Terrell Suggs. Great hand fighter, but limited athlete. Now, T-Sizzle overcame it. He was a guy that didn't have great movement skills, but he, understood exactly what to do with his hands. Explosive hand usage, great hand usage, and just enough bend, right? Just not a super flexible guy, but just enough bend to make it work. And power, right? A powerful guy. Trey Flowers has some of that stuff, but doesn't have all of the stuff that Terrell Suggs has. Poor man's Terrell Suggs. We're talking about a different kind of athlete. We're talking about a guy who can drop into coverage. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but he can drop into coverage. I mean, he's not DeMarcus Ware, but he's way closer to DeMarcus Ware than he is to a guy like Trey Flowers. So no, don't worry about that.
Right. I'm just worried about the effort. But if they do draft him, that's all my concern is, the effort, and that's it. But I do like Jermaine Johnson. I like Jermaine Johnson a lot.
Oh, he's awesome. Now, but you can trade down and still get him, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you're thinking about trade down, I like both these guys, but they're both trade down guys. If you take them at 2, you've left money on the table, right? You could probably trade down to 12, 13 and still get one or both of them. Now, Walker may go earlier, frankly, earlier than he should. If he goes in the top 10, God bless him, but he's not as physically impressive as he is. You keep saying, go back to the tape. You can see when you watch the tape that he doesn't quite have it all yet as a pass rusher with a pass rush plan.
Trevon?
So,
you talking about Trevon? Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about Trevon Walker. Jermaine Johnson's the other end of the spectrum. He's got all the moves. He's got them all. He's got the hezzy swim. He's got the fake spin. He's got the real spin. He's got the half spin and counterback. He's got the club rip. He's got the stab rip. He's got the long arm. Name a pass rush move. He's got them all. He's magical. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. But you can trade back and get him. So if you want to pick up some more draft picks, say some team does panic and gets desperate and wants a quarterback or whatever, or one of the 3 tackles, and they're afraid that they'll be gone. That's where you rob them a little bit. You put on the ski mask, right?
Right.
And then you can still get one of those guys. Even if you go down to probably 11, 12, 13, there's one or both of them will still be available.
Right. So I'm gonna switch gears. Linebacker. Then we're going to cover safety and wide receiver. Then we're going to take questions. Linebacker. We're out of the Devin Lloyd race.
Yes, you are.
I'm
going to give you a semi-early option, a middle to late, and then a late round option. Okay. So looking at the kind of linebackers you seem to like, by you, I mean Detroit. I don't know about your personal taste.
We need a zone. Okay, we 3 down.
Yes, right. So your early option, second, maybe third, is Brandon Smith from Penn State. Okay. Only thing I would say is he's going to need a little bit of work on just seeing the game. Once he sees the game a little better, and he's one of the guys that actually is one of the younger guys in this class. This is mostly an older draft class, and some teams have strict age guardrails, the Browns being amongst them, and certain guys that will go later than people think. because there'll be teams that will pass on him just because of age. There's a bunch of guys who are 24 years, 6 months, 23 years, 9 months. A lot of guys who will be 24 and 25 in the rookie season in this draft class because of the COVID year. But this is one of the younger guys, right? I don't think he's turned 22 yet. So he's one of the younger guys in the class at the position. He has all the stuff you're looking for, except he's got to get some more reps to get the game up here. Once he gets the game up here, you're going to get one of the, which is always, a little scary because some guys never get there. But assuming he gets the game up here to the level he needs to get it, you're talking about one of the guys who's going to be a 8 to 10 year top tier linebacker. So that's your early one. Some of the guys that I think will be able a little bit later, but I think will still be really, really good. And once again, we'll be able to play. I'll give you one more early. Okay, this is another guy who's probably a second to early third rounder, is Chad Moma from Wyoming. So You know what? I'll give you a third one. And this guy's maybe a little bit later, maybe a round later. Troy Anderson from Montana State.
Okay.
You know what?
Troy Anderson.
Yeah. So Anderson is a guy that has been a quarterback, came to college as a quarterback, has played running back and sort of H-back, tight end. I mean, he's done a lot of different things. But he's a super athlete. He's only been playing linebacker since spring of 2020, I believe. So he's kind of new and raw, but he's got off-the-charts talent. And once again, you need to develop a little bit. Okay, now to the guys that I think are available a little bit later, middle-round guys like JoJo Doman from Nebraska, former safety who outgrew the position. I think he's a guy that's, once again, 8 to 10-year starter at the NFL level. This is a guy that I like a little bit less than some people, and I see people pushing him up the board. If he goes early, then let somebody else have it. But Channing Tindall is a very good football player, but I think he's not quite what some people think he is. I think he's mostly like a run and hit guy. And I don't think he'll ever be like a green dot or whatever. I don't think he'll be a guy that can run your defense.
Right.
I think he's a run and hit guy. He's still a good run and hit guy. There's a place for him.
Yeah, there's a place. He's not. I think he's in. Now we're switching through the 4-3. I think he's an outside linebacker. I don't think he's. Yeah,
he's for you. Right, he's probably a will if you guys do that.
Right. Yeah. He's not a guy. I think I seen some film where Nakobe Dean was in the championship game. Nakobe Dean was like, "You got to get to this spot." He turned
that up. Exactly. That's my concern about Channing Tindall. You gotta tell him what to do a little bit.
Right.
And so that's another guy in sort of the run and hit mold. If you do want a will linebacker, is that kid Terrell Bernard from Baylor, and he can really run. That guy's an athlete.
Terrell Bernard. Okay, that's a new name. He's an athlete. He's a pure, like, top drawer athlete. That kid can go. You'll need to teach him a little bit, but not as much as Tindall. Like, Tindall scares me a little bit, frankly. I do gotta get these for a second. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead.
I'll give you a couple more. This is a guy that has been gaining ground as the process is ongoing. Canadian kid, Jesse Luketa from Penn State.
Okay, yeah.
He can play. Yep, he can play Sam in a 4-3, and then when you go into your NASCAR or Cheetah or Formula One or Dragster, whatever package, we just put all the pass rushers down there. He can do that. He can walk down and either go into a 3-point stance or come out as a stand-up pass rusher. So he gives you that scheme versatility, and he's a fun player.
Luketa?
Yeah, Luketa, Canadian kid.
Okay.
But he's got some talent.
Right.
And, he's going to develop into a good player.
Yeah. In Detroit, I want this debate to stop because in Detroit, there's some people that love George K. And then there's some people that love Aiden. There's some people that say George K is better than Aiden. We're going to shut it down right now. What does a scout who actually talks to NFL teams, what do you think?
So here's the massive difference between the two. I think they're both going to be good players. Productive, good pros for years. I think both are going to be really good. The difference about George Karlaftis is he is pretty much pure power, right? He doesn't have a lot else right now in the bag. He's got really good hand usage. He's strong as an ox, but he's a little stiff, maybe a tiny bit stiff, but powerful player, and he'll be productive. He's going to be an 8.5 7.5, 9 sack guy for multiple years in his career. I just don't think he can do as many things as well as Aiden Hutchinson. But my issue with both of them is they aren't terribly freaky athletes, right? They're good, very good athletes, but they're not freaky athletes.
Right.
So if you're okay with a guy who's getting a lot of effort plays as opposed to a guy that's just flat out beating people with off the charts ability, that's, the thing that you have to decide. Because some teams care a little bit less about pure athletic ability than some teams do. Other teams like, dude, I need you to be a freak because you're going to see freaks, right? You're going to come up against other freaks. And if you're not a freak and the other guy is a freak, sometimes you're outgunned based on that.
Right. Got some peanut gallery hecklers. We ain't gonna focus on that. We know. I studied the film on Davis and Khalil Hodge could be a dynamic. Oh man, I can't stand it. So we got a lot of YouTubers in the chat. They want to be confirmed by you. Me too. That's why I brought you on.
No problem. Well, let's just keep rolling. I'm gonna give you a guy who's gonna come off the board probably in the third round. I think he could be a starting Mike. And that's Malcolm Rodriguez, 2-time state champion wrestler, a tackling machine at Oklahoma State. When he hits people, they go down. And I like that. I like when you hit people and they go down. I don't like when they bounce off or keep going or they slide out of your – no, I like when they go down. Yeah. And just go back and, once again, throw on the tape. See how many guys – even when the angle isn't perfect, he still gets them to the ground, right? And I heard people say, oh, he's got – not pterodactyl. He's got T-Rex arms. Yes, he has short arms, but he's been playing with those short arms for a while. He's figured it out. And those arms are super strong. I think he did 32 reps. Mm-hmm. And he's 229 pounds or something. So he's incredibly powerful. He's 4'5", 840, explosive, and he's a tremendous tackler. If you're freaked out about the arms, I don't know what to tell you. He'll be fine.
Do you have concerns about him in his own defense?
Here's what I will say. He's better in coverage than people think. Is he great? He's not Nakobe Dean in coverage. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, but he's better against the run than Dean, and he's an amazing tackler. Mm-hmm. So it comes down to, horses for courses or, why they have all those different players at Baskin Robbins. If you are not as worried about a guy who gets bounced around when he comes down into the interior, because Dean gets bounced. I like him, but he gets bounced around when he comes down.
Kobe Dean gets bounced around.
I mean, it's just physics. I mean, it's going to happen when you're a smaller guy. And even though they're not hugely different in size, you can see the difference in like build and the power in Malcolm Rodriguez's body. He doesn't get bounced around down there because he's, once again, two-time state champion wrestler. He has amazing balance, and he's got tremendous lower body power. He's really strong in the lower body. He's strong everywhere. He's just powerful.
I would love him. I would love at the mic, DeMarco Jackson's one. I've been very
There we go. One of my guys, Appalachian State. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know. I do the research. I love Rodriguez. I love Damon, like you said. I think the Lions they're going to get 2 linebackers out this draft. I like Beavers. I'm very high on Beavers. I think Beavers is a little complete.
He can do a little bit of everything. Yep.
Right.
He's even played out of position at times when he was at Cincinnati and did all right doing it. So they played him in a bunch of different roles. They had him playing DN for a minute, which is not really what he's best at. He's played almost every linebacker position for them also in his time there. So he is versatile.
Mm-hmm. So I look at Dean. I look at Dean. People think Dean's going to be available at 32. That's just not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Cowboys, they moved on from Leighton Vander Esch. You have some other teams. Kansas City, they haven't had a linebacker in ages. Yep. And a lot of people mock wide receivers to Kansas City. I think they know they can wait for a wide receiver. Yes. It's that linebacker talent, especially in the middle. They don't want to go down to the wire every game, in zone and man. Defensively, this draft is something we have to get right correctly.
Yes. 100%.
And with that number 2 pick, would you suggest to the Lions to go Kyle Hamilton?
So I know some people think my thoughts about Kyle Hamilton are controversial. I think he's a very good player, but people thinking he's one of the best players in this draft seems a little bit much to me. Here's what I will tell you. I like his instincts. I like his size. I like a lot of things about him. Oh, well, shout out to Micro Mike. Here's my issue. You're getting essentially a sexier version of Kerry Rhodes at the very, very top of the draft.
Kerry Rhodes.
Yeah, Kerry Rhodes from Louisville, and
Right.
was a nice. I mean, went to a couple of Pro Bowls. I mean, we're talking about a good player here, but people are they're seeing more than's there, right? And I understand it. He's made some very splashy plays that have been played a lot on ESPN and all that kind of cool stuff. But we're talking about a midfield safety with slightly below to slightly below average physical ability, right? In terms of just speed, change of direction, things like that.
Right.
He makes up for that for some extent with his football intelligence, extremely high football intelligence. He's got range and things like he sees things well. He's got ball skills are there. But if you're looking for a truly game-changing player, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed if that's the guy you're taking, especially that early. Now, if you really love him, back to what I said before, trade down. I'd like to. Who's the team that's going to say, "Oh, we need this safety in the top 5 or the top 6," when there's 3 truly high-quality tackles to be had that are guys who will be possibly all-pro level offensive tackles, which are super hard to find. Right. If you're telling me that one of those teams in the top 10 is going to pass on one of, whether it be Cross, whether it be Neal, whether it be Iguanu, who would do that? I guess is what I'm trying to find out. When you have a chance to get one of those guys, very few teams in the NFL like the safety position that much anyway. And I was a safety. I don't like the fact that teams don't value safety as much as they should. I wish they valued the position more.
Right.
I don't think Hamilton goes as early as a lot of people think he goes for a bunch of reasons. I still think he's a very good player. I think he's going to go to 2 or 3 Pro Bowls. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to have a nice long 11, 12 NFL career. But I'm not seeing a transcendent player.
Right. I don't see. I watched the tape on the All 22 tape, and my people know this, that we have the All 22 tape. You know, it's just no problem for us. We watched the Mackenzie Milton throw and all this other stuff. Mackenzie Milton's not going to the NFL.
Mackenzie Milton is a cute. I shouldn't say cute. That's not the right word to use, but you know what I mean. Like, he's a fun college quarterback. But yes, he would have trouble even hanging around as a backup. He's most likely headed to the CFL or one of the other leagues. Yes,
that's it. And what they do is they play what they want to play. They play the little play where he comes out, he's all around the field and stuff. But you see that quarterback's throwing a trash throw. Yeah. And in that game, no one talks about that game. It was 42-45. That was the finishing game. They were getting ran up the middle every play. Yes. Like, even though he had like 5 or 10 tackles in that game, he made there was no game-changing atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing.
When I hear people whipping names out like Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, it just makes me literally want to break out in hives. Like, no. He's not Kenny Houston. He's not, like, whoever it is you think you're seeing, you're not. Like I said, you're getting a good player. Don't get me wrong. We're, like I said, 2 or 3 Pro Bowls, maybe even makes all pro once. But we're talking about, like I said, Kerry Rhodes, maybe a slightly better version of Kerry Rhodes. That's what you're getting. Range, intelligence, slightly below average explosive ability as a player, but he's a good player. I'm not down on him as a player. I'm down on him as a guy going in the top 4 or 5.
And fitting the need is not necessarily just because we have a deficit at safety. We have a deficit. We have
There's other safeties in this draft class that are really good.
I know. I know. A couple others with Jerome McKinley.
There's a bunch. This is actually a really so. Let me just say this. This is one of the better safety classes of the past 4 or 5 years. So this is, once again, what I say, because of the COVID year, there's a backlog at a bunch of, quarterback being the one great exception, but there's a backlog at a bunch of positions of really good football players. Somebody's going to get Marquise Bell and be thrilled with what they have. There's a bunch of good safeties in this draft class. And if you're going to take a guy who's, remember I said about guys you take in the top 10? I don't want them to be missing anything. I want all of it. Like sometimes when you're shopping for a vehicle and they say, well, you can get this, but for this much, you can get the Rally Off Sports package. I want it all. If I'm picking in the top 10, I want the all of it. I want the clear coat. I mean, everything. So what does he give? What does a player give you? Does a player give you everything? If a player can give you everything, that means being an exceptional athlete. That means being an exceptional human being. That means being an exceptional talent at their position. And within that, a player that will raise the total talent level of your team. You are a better team across the board because you drafted this player early. If you start drafting for need, I'm going to quote Brian Billick once more. Need is a terrible evaluator of talent. If you start drafting for need and you do it consistently, guess what happens to the total talent level of your team? It comes a little down and then a little down and a little down each time. Each time you go for need over talent, it's death by 1,000 cuts, Avery, right? It doesn't kill you this year. You don't die this year. It might even not kill you next year. But in a few years, when all of a sudden you're looking around, you're bad at the roster, and you're realizing, oh, we kept plugging holes in the draft. Free agency. I mean, free agency still exists, people. Plug holes in free agency. Use the draft to raise the total talent level of your team, and you will prosper.
See, and that's the thing, man. You know, you as a scout for the HBCUs, you have relationships with NFL teams. You said on here how the NFL teams, you wish they valued safety more. I think he's a top 15 player. I'm not taking nothing away from him.
Sure.
But and I heard someone say, well, we can make the Legion of Boom. And I see in the chat, we can make the Legion of Boom. We can make all these things. And Earl Thomas was picked at 15. Like, what are we talking about?
And Earl was a freak athlete at the position, right? Earl could have played corner in the league. He's that good an athlete. We're talking about a very different kind of athlete. And once again, this is going to sound like I don't like Kyle Hamilton. I do like Kyle Hamilton. I like him for what he is, not for what other people think he is. And those are two very different things.
See, what they're doing is they putting a cape and lipstick on him, and they saying he's Supergirl. He's not. He's the Green Lantern, and that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. Green Lantern had a nice run, too.
Right.
Green Lantern saved the Earth a couple of times.
Right. He's Green Lantern. Aiden Hutchinson could be Superman.
Right. And that's the thing. When you're looking at guys like possibly Luke Cage, right? If you're looking at a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, you're looking at guys or Black Panther, right? Because he's got the agility. See, here's the thing that there's more than one way to be successful as a pass rusher. And it falls into basically three categories, right? You have guys who are just straight up speed, right? They're just beating you up that upfield shoulder, just right. They floor it. You just can't get there. You can't get to the point of decision where you're thinking you're gonna get there, but you miscalculated. They beat you to the point, and all you can do is yell to your quarterback, "Look out!" Right? Just pure speed. The thing is that you can overset. You can start quick setting and oversetting, try to take some of that away. You can counter that in scheme a little bit. Mm-hmm. But obviously, speed is speed. Then you've got guys who are beating you with bend, right? They are using leverage. They're using, a combination of moves, but mostly just their ability to bend. They can outbend you. They're getting beneath you. Now, Von Miller's got it all. He's got speed, he's got power, he's got bend. So, but I use his bend as an example. The old scouting joke is he could win a 100-yard dash where you had to run underneath the dinner table. He has that tremendous ability to keep all of that angular momentum while he's, 18 inches off the ground. I mean, that's special. He is we don't see guys like that very often. He is in that rarefied air. And there's no one quite like that in this draft. I would be honest about that. I wish, right? And the things that I love about a guy like Thibodeau is even though he's not quite that level of flexible, he's much more flexible than the other two we talked about. He's much more flexible than Hutchinson. He's much more flexible than Karlaftis. So he gives you bend. He's got better speed off the edge, right? He's got better speed off the edge also than the other two, than either Karlaftis or Hutchinson. So we're talking about a guy that has that level of ability. Now, Jermaine Johnson is the most complete in terms of having everything.
And I'm okay with taking Jermaine. I'm okay with reaching for Jermaine if I love him.
But the issue, obviously, is that he's not a top of the draft guy. Right. Partially due to age. He's an slightly older prospect. And partially due to size also. He's a bit undersized to be an actual, into line of scrimmage guy. He's really more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, and you guys are kind of both, right? So,
right.
So you can do a little of both of them. You can have him line up at wide 9 sometimes. You can have him, line up at linebacker.
Right. And I would love to get a Jordan Davis if I could. If he's fallen, I would love to get him. Jordan Davis. I think we need defensive interior help. There's some positions of depth. Obviously, I emailed you that we need the corner. I know people aren't going to like this, but we need corner, still a need here.
Yes.
Interior offensive line is still a need.
Correct.
Tight end too is still a need. I heard your comments about McBride, Dulcich. Can you expound on that?
Sure. So I'll give you some tight end 2 guys that will probably be available in the 3rd round and even after. If Bellinger is still there in the 3rd round, Daniel Bellinger from San Diego State.
Yeah.
He can block. He's a better athlete than people realize. He has really good hands. I don't think I've ever seen him drop a ball. I have to go back and look. But I mean, I watched 6 games on him and not a single drop. He didn't drop a ball in Senior Bowl practices. I mean, the kid has really solid hands, a really good blocker. So he's not quite the athlete. He's a good athlete. He's not quite the athlete that Hawkinson is. But he's a good athlete. So that's a really good tight end. You have a very dynamic tight end tandem if you got a guy like Bellinger. Right. Other guys I like Derek Dees Jr. He's not quite the athlete, but he's a guy who'll be available probably the 5th or 6th round. Other guys that I really, really like. I mean, now once again, you may have to go up a little on this guy because Jelani Woods, thanks to what he did in the Senior Bowl and then what he did at the Combine, has probably played himself out of the 4th and 3rd into like the 2nd, 3rd round bubble.
Okay, Jelani did that.
Yes, and he's also a really good blocker. I mean, once again, look at UVA. What do they like to do? They like to run the ball there, and so he's a very good. I mean, he mostly blocked at Oklahoma State. They didn't throw him the ball much when he was there, and he transfers and finally gets the ball from Brendan Armstrong once he gets to UVA. But he still blocks. He blocks very well.
I love that. I love Jelani a lot. I didn't know he raised that much.
Well, first of all, when I say raise, I mean raise in the eyes of like the public. The NFL was already there on him. When you hear someone's shooting up the boards, whatever, that's because the media, the people outside, are catching up to what the people inside already knew on a player. Every once in a while, the NFL gets truly surprised on a player, but usually those guys are further down, right? Those are usually guys that are in the 5th, 6th, whatever. Those guys, they didn't do as much work on. Guys in the top 100, they move up or down a little bit, but the only thing that moves you up dramatically, around, more than around, discover an injury, right, on the medicals, right, or an injury is worse than they thought, or they get really good news of what they thought was a really bad injury situation. They found out, oh no, this kid's way healthier than I thought. That can move you up an entire round. Or incredibly well can move you up a round. Usually less than a round, but sometimes if it's truly extraordinary. Mm-hmm. And then the other big thing, or amongst the other big things, is off the field, right? Character, whatever, if they discovered some stuff that they didn't already know that's really, really bad character-wise, that can move you down a round or 2. I mean, Adam Anderson's a great example. That guy might even be undrafted because of the off-the-field stuff with him.
Yeah, Adam Anderson going through the case, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So that's a guy that, I mean, some team late day 3 may go ahead and, roll the dice. But yeah. But right, I don't think that he's a guy the Lions would consider anyway. From what I know about their culture, you would know better than I would, but they don't seem to be out there taking a lot of wild risks with those kind of guys.
Oh no, they, I think for a while, for 2012, I think fans would agree with me. There was a whole draft class that got busted down for weed, and we've never drafted a weed guy ever since. So, right. And even though Calvin Johnson was smoking every day, it happens. It happens. I got to ask you about wide receiver. That's our biggest position of need. And
you picked the right year.
I picked the right year.
It's a historically deep class.
Yeah.
There's going to be guys that go in the 4th, 5th round who are going to be dynamic playmakers. Isaiah Weston, guys like that are going to come out of the box and be terrific.
Yes.
Somebody's going to get Khalil Shakur in the 2nd or 3rd. He's going to be terrific. Sky Moore is maybe on that 1st, 2nd round bubble, but you guys pick at 32. You might have a shot at him. I mean, there's so many good receivers this year. I mean, because of his size, Calvin Austin might be available in the 4th, but he plays much bigger than he measures because partially that 39.5-inch vertical, and partially it's because he has that mentality. You mentioned dogs. And when you look at a guy who weighs like 169 pounds, you're not thinking dog, but he's got that dog mentality. He doesn't know he's that small, right? He thinks he's big. He plays bigger than that. He's terrific in the return game. So you've automatically upgraded your punt and kickoff return team if you bring him in as a returner. And then you put him, I mean, no one's quite Tyreek Hill, but he can do some Tyreek Hill-ish things. He's dynamic in the open field. He's stronger than you would think a guy that size would be. He can break some tackles even. He's not, he's not huge, but I've seen him break arm tackles. He doesn't go down with the first lick. I like him a lot.
Calvin Austin. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Criticized him because of his size. I actually prefer bigger receivers, especially. I'll give you my top 3. And
okay.
Matter of fact, I'll give you top 5. How about a top 5?
Let's do it.
So my 5th guy is I like London. I like Burks.
Yep.
Now we're a little weird. Okay.
Okay.
No, matter of fact, take Burks off there. I like Jalen Tolbert.
There we go.
I like George Pickens.
Yeah.
I like Alec Pierce.
Okay.
And I like my number 1 guy, Christian Watson.
You have Watson. You're the second person I've met who has Watson number 1. Okay. Cool. I am a Watson guy too. I've been on Watson, for a while. I don't know if he's the best receiver in the past, but he certainly has so much ability. And he's a blocker. I think you like blockers because a lot of the guys on your list were blockers. Pierce is a blocker. You put
like the ankle
off, he can block.
Mm-hmm.
Pickens is a good blocker. London, but except Drake, everybody on the list is a really good blocker. So I think you like blockers. And it's a really good blocking class of receivers. Weston's a really good blocker. There's a lot of really good blocking receivers, like guys who like relish it, who go out and do it like they mean it. So yeah, okay. I can get behind virtually all of those guys. Okay, so starting from your 5th, which was Burks, and you replaced him with.
I replaced him with Jalen Tolbert.
The Tolbert, okay. So Tolbert's a long strider, and so some people don't like leggy or whatever term. I don't care. I mean, he knows how to bend and he can drop his weight to get in and out of routes. So when you see like leggy, I mean, sometimes people are just throwing out scouting terms to just sound like they scout or whatever. Cool, whatever.
That's a lot of Detroit. That's a lot. There's a lot of that. That's a lot of that.
Cool, whatever. I mean, yeah, he's got longer than average legs. Doesn't bother me one teeny tiny bit. I have watched him snap guys off, right? Beat shorter corners with movement. I've seen him jump over corners. I've seen him run away. I've seen him do everything I want. Could he be a little physically stronger? Sure. But you have a strength and conditioning program, the last I checked. So outside of him putting on another 7-8 good pounds, sign me up. I'm a fan. I didn't have him that high, but not because he's not that good, but because there's so many receivers in this class. Because I love Shakur and I love Sky Moore, and it's just ridiculous this year. And then your number 4 was that Pierce?
No, Pierce is my number 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Let me go through again.
Yep.
Burks. Oh, my 4 was Pickens.
Okay. So this has been the late riser, right? It happens every year. Pickens, of course, was a highly recruited, highly rated, highly everything guy coming out. Had trouble getting healthy and staying healthy. Mm-hmm. But it looks like if he can do that, assuming he manages to be a durable guy who doesn't have any more injury concerns going forward, you're getting a guy that has size, speed, and body control. That's a really good combination.
And don't forget he's an ankle biter. Don't forget.
Yes, and he is another guy that he will bite ankles and knees and whatever. He is a blocker. He's another really good blocker in this class. So, like I said, with the exception of London, all the guys you named are really, really good blockers. And London's not a bad blocker. He's just not up with the same, with the tier of the other guys.
Right.
But yeah, terrific blocker to go with everything else. I'll be honest, I'm a little worried about the fact that he has not been durable in the past. Now, so once again, past injury doesn't always mean a future of injury, but I would have to be really convinced by the medicals. I'd have to see that everything's shipshape and ready to go. But yes, he's got a lot of what you like. So much of what he does well is dependent simply upon his ability to track the ball, which he does well, and then extend out, right, and be up and over. I mean, very few people are going to be able to go up where he goes.
Right.
I don't know if he's quite the deep threat that some people think he is, but he can catch like a shorter play and turn it into a big one. He can turn it up and go. He's got good long speed, not elite, not Jameson Williams, not that, not Calvin Austin, not a few of those guys who are like crazy fast. But he's got more than enough. He's got more than enough, both playing and time speed to still be able to break some things. And he can run through arm tackles as well. So, yeah. And your number 3 was London?
Oh, I flipped that. My bad. My number 5 was London or something.
Okay.
We can go with Alec Pierce.
Okay, well, I'll do London then Pierce. Okay, so London is my number 3.
Oh, okay.
And other than blocking and pure speed, he's got everything. He's an okay blocker. He's not a great blocker, but he doesn't have elite speed. He's got everything else. I think he's faster than people think. Unfortunately, he couldn't time because he's still coming back off an injury.
Right. But
he's a true dominant X receiver. He thinks every ball is his, and he's right more often than not. Yeah. He's an amazing jump ball guy, and once again, not surprising, right? A terrific basketball player, guy who for 2 years played both sports at USC. Box out specialist, can go up and get almost any football that any person can catch. Basically, he can catch it. And he's better after the catch than people give him credit for being. He's a better route runner than people give him credit for being. Maybe not elite as a route runner, but better than people think. And like I said, after the catch, look, I don't know if even Burks is harder to bring down after the catch than London. Like, those guys are fighting it out for the hardest guy to bring down once they got the ball in their hands. I have seen him run through 3 guys to get into the end zone. London is a tough guy to stop. Mm-hmm. And my notes were, this is once again, I'm showing my age, but my first notes on him, I started writing him up as a sophomore, was Mike Evans at 33 1/3, right? If Mike Evans is a 45 RPM, he's 33 1/3. He's not Mike Evans level of pure athlete, but he's got all that other stuff, the big arms, the long hand, long arms, big hands, and just the mentality that every ball is his. There are times that he'd be double and triple covered and Slovis would throw it up to him, and he'd come down with it anyway. He just doesn't believe anyone can stop him.
I love it.
And then your number.
My number 1. Pierce. Number 2. Yeah, 2. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the cool thing about Alec Pierce. Once again, tremendous volleyball athlete, right? Guy who could have gone D1 in volleyball if he decided to. Terrific volleyball athlete in college.
I had no idea.
And a hurdler, right? Hurdler and a volleyball guy. And you can see it when you watch him play. He's going to jump over somebody his rookie season, like somebody who's practically standing up. He'll go, oh. The reason people don't realize what a freak athlete is because he's white. Let's be honest, right?
That's it.
If his name was D. Alec Pierce, D apostrophe Alec Pierce, he's a whole different guy, right? He's one of the best athletes, especially at that size, in the whole draft class. He's a
Green Bay gonna take him, and he gonna be a terrible person to us for 10 years.
He really does feel like a Packer, doesn't he? And he blocks. I mean, the only thing he doesn't. Well, I should say he doesn't do. It's because he didn't do it that much. Is he wasn't used as a pure deep threat. A lot of his big plays were actually on shorter routes. He'd be running a crossing route, catch it, break a tackle, and turn up. He wasn't running 60 yards and catching a ball. He was catching a ball at 12 to 18 and then taking off on people, which is why I wasn't as shocked as other people were when he ran like that. I was like, yeah, I mean, I think I guessed 4.46 to 4.49. And he's faster than that. But I wasn't one of those people who thought he was slow. Those people thought he wasn't fast. What are you watching? He ran away from people all the time.
Alabama double covering him in the championship.
Right. And they've got some athletes in Alabama, for those who hadn't heard. Right. So when Alabama's worried about you.
I thought he had the most polished game. I said this in January. I was like, this dude with the holes in his game, I hear route running and a couple other holes, 12% drop. I don't care. I see a nice template. And I could work with that. With Antoine Randall coaching him, I think he could be good.
He's going to be fine.
Very good.
Worst case scenario. This is the bottom for him. Is you get a white Braylon Edwards. That's worst case scenario. Can you live with a white Braylon Edwards?
right now, I'm trying to make Brashad Perryman into a legit number one. So, so
Woo!
I can deal with Mike Braylon Edwards. I could round up. We're gonna start taking questions.
Sure.
I know I cut you off a lot because you a wealth of knowledge, man.
That's fine.
I get so happy when you agree with what I've said in the past. As I feel vindicated. I'm the Motor City madman when it comes to these prospects. If I'm not saying, if I'm not saying what they want to hear, I get crucified. So,
well, Jesus got crucified, so it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you aren't ready.
Right. Oh man. So, man, I'm seeing stuff about Goff. Oh God, I don't want to get. Do you like?
Okay, so let me address Goff's quote unquote vibe. Here's what I will say about Goff. He's a very solid young man. Is he from California? Okay. If that's a problem, there's lots of people from California. Aaron Charles Rodgers, right? Josh Allen, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. A lot of quarterbacks from California. So you might want to just warm up to the idea of guys from California playing quarterback. But here's he doesn't have to get open. He didn't get open in college either. Guess what? All the time.
Don't worry. Let the NFL talk. We got
it. Okay, so back to Goff. He's a guy that unfortunately needs to be in a very structured kind of offense. But as long as he is in a very structured offensive environment, as long as the play that's being called is being executed, and he doesn't have to go to a lot of second reaction and things like that. Remember, this is a guy that almost outdueled Patrick Mahomes down in Mexico City when he passed for like 500 and something yards. Like, he's capable of being productive. Now, admittedly, that was a very dynamic offense. I mean, that's obviously it's slightly different from what's going on now. But in the right offensive environment, he's capable of flourishing. I don't think he's your permanent long-term answer, but he's a nice long-term bridge to either drafting and developing or finding a guy in not this year, but the 2023 draft.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. And I'm going to be lighter on Goff. I'll be lighter, but the minute he starts fumbling again, he had 24 turnovers this year.
Yeah,
I got crazy.
That is that's always been a weakness of his game, even back in college.
Wow. It's years ago, 5-6 years ago. So,
well, I mean, generally, some guys fix certain things, but if a guy was a fumbler in college, it usually follows him to the NFL.
Wow. Who do you take at 32 and 34? I know this is for me, but y'all get me every day.
Yeah, I'll let you have first dibs, and I'll tell you what I would do.
Okay, so at 32, if he's there, I don't believe he will be. I'll take Christian Watson because I think the Jaguars got to beat on Christian Watson.
That would be great. Yeah.
You said what?
That would be fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if he's there. 30... Once again, run, sprint to the podium. Yeah. Yes, that's one of those knock down your grandmother if you have to. Yes. Yes, that's a must. Who do you like 34?
34. Now this is going to be a little controversial. So
okay,
I'm going to go I'm going to go pass rusher if I don't get it at 32. Or I mean at 2. If I don't get who I want as a pass rusher at 2 or whatever, and they somehow walk away with a safety, I'm gonna get Cam Edwards. If they try to play it safe and walk away with a safety, I'm not gonna lose my crap. I'm just gonna say y'all got to come back with Cam. Y'all got to come back with Cam Edwards. If they don't need Cam Edwards, they got the D they want. They got the defensive end they love. We're going linebacker. We're going linebacker from Alabama, or we're going Beavers or Tyndall or one of those guys that's just serviceable that can fill it.
Christian Harris.
Yeah, Christian Harris.
Okay, I'll give you 3 options at each of those 2 spots. So at 32, guys, I think we'll be there. Obviously, anything can happen in the draft, but I think we'll be there, and if they're there, you should definitely take them. I will start with Jaquan Brisker. If he's there at either 32 or 34, that's a guy I think you would take and love. I think you'll be thrilled with. Another guy, safety, but a guy who can play nickel as well as Daxton Hill. And they'll love the whole, look, he's a Michigan man, but he's also a really good player. And I don't think there's a huge difference in my mind. In fact, gun to my head, I might even take him over. This is going to make some people mad. But I might even take him over a guy like Kyle Hamilton because I think Daxton Hill can play nickel at a higher level than Hamilton. He's more explosive. He's got better hips. He's got better feet. And I'll give you a couple guys at 34 that I think.
You're breaking up.
Oh, hold on. Let me check on that.
Thank you, Gilbert Batello. Thank you, Zach J. Thank you, C. It's dicey. That's what they're saying. Can't hear you now. Oh, right when you start speaking the truth on Kyle Hamilton, that's when we have a audio issue. I can't hear you right now. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Yeah. Let me see if I can remove him and then add him back. Hello? Oh boy. Man. This is the devil's work. Did you mute your mic?
How about now?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I was messing around with some settings. I'm back. Okay. So I was saying, I mentioned Brisker. I mentioned Jahan Dotson. And yes, I mean,
I'm doing this for Brisker, not Jahan Dotson.
Right. But they're both really good players. But you're right. I mean, Brisker would be a win. Daxton Hill, I think, would be a terrific player. Like I said, you can get right there. And frankly, I think if you want to be able to play all the safety positions with a player and also have him drop over the slot and really do well, I think that Daxton Hill or Jalen Petrie give you that really, even, especially in terms of playing slot at a higher level than you get from Kyle Hamilton. Because Hamilton just doesn't have the feet and the hips to stay with. Think of how quick. Think of what Cooper Kupp would do to a guy who has good but not great hips and feet, right? Because Hamilton doesn't have that level of hip, that level of feet. Guys like that are going to eat him alive just because they're so quick and change direction on a dime, and he can't quite do that. So I'll give you.
I appreciate you so much.
I
appreciate you so much.
I'll give you a couple more. Kyrie Elam might be there. Some team might jump up, but I think he might make it either 32 or 34. I'll give you two others. I'm a huge fan of Travis Jones, and I know some people think he might stay on the board another 10 to 15 picks later than this. Maybe I might take that chance. I might take him at 34 just to be sure. I just think he's so complete. He can just crush one side of the running game. He has pass rush moves. He's a very good athlete. If it weren't for the aforementioned Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle that became all the love coming out of the combine would be this kid. He's got everything, and frankly, he's got better production so far than Jordan Davis. Like we can say that Jordan Davis is now playing at 341, and we think he's going to be a 3-down player. But that's assumption.
Up again.
Oh, really? Hold on.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
I can't hear you. Can't hear you. No. Oh, okay. Muted.
Okay, how about now?
Oh, yeah. I got you now.
Yes, okay. I don't know why it keeps whatever, but let me just finish up. So I think Travis Jones gives you the ability to, in your 3-4, in your odd front, to have him play 5-tech and be a really good 5-tech. He can play 4-eye. He can play 3-tech, all at a very high level. And do you want to, in your special packages, put him on the nose right over the center at a 0 or a 1? Yes, he can do that too. Tremendous versatility. We know he can play 85, 84% of the snaps. How do we know? Because we've seen him do it. with a guy like Jordan Davis, it's conjecture. You're going to ask him to double his snap count and not gas out, and you're just believing that's going to happen because you're taking it on faith that he's not going to put 20, 25 pounds back on. Right. I mean, maybe you're right, but that's a lot to gamble on, right? For a guy that's never played a high snap count. He's never been to 50%, let alone 70% of the snaps ever in college. So I know what I'm getting from a guy who's shown me he's played 80+% of the snaps on defense, which, I mean, frankly, it wasn't good for him. Like, he shouldn't have played that many, but he was so good they didn't take him off the field at Connecticut.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Travis Jones.
Yes.
Travis Jones for Connecticut.
Utter beast.
Okay.
I mean,
utter beast.
Tested through the roof, productive, versatile. I just think that if you want to get immediate production, he's a better choice than even a guy like Jordan Davis, who is more of a project. Even though he's a very exciting project, he's never played a high level snaps. He's never really developed as a pass rusher, at least not to this point.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I'm with you. And then 50%. I thought he was at 50%. If he's not even there,
he's below 50% of snaps.
Wow. Okay.
I think the most he's ever played. He's played maybe over 50% a game, but the most he ever played in a season was in the 40s, 46 point something, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of? I'm trying to look for other people's comments, but they're commenting on people we've talked about. They comment on Snuffleupagus. They're commenting on all these other people. We're not gonna waste your time. We very limited time.
Sure.
But I do have a question about Noah Ellis, the later round player.
Okay, good. If you like Noah Ellis, can I give you somebody I think you'll like even better?
Yeah, sure.
I like Noah Ellis. That's fine. And I think he is your classic 2-down run plugger, right? I mean, that's what he is, and there's still a place for that. Like, people can pretend you don't still need to stop the run in this new modern NFL, and that's true if you're getting dashed over and over again in the run game. It's like, oh, right, I forgot we still need to stop the run. So, yes, there are teams that will see that you struggle to stop the run and will say, okay, finesse front. Here's a face full of 30-pound running back over and over again. See how you like that? So, yes, there is a place still for a kid like him. And once again, he's very stout at the point of attack. He's got a very powerful lower body. He knows how to, move centers, and he can take on, he can two-gap, he can take on center and a guard and move both of them or hold against both of them and free up, your linebacker to move around and slow.
Oh, I'm getting word that the audio. I'm getting word
again? Okay, hold on. I don't know what's going on. Give me a second. See if I can get this going again.
Yeah, I'm like, they didn't even get. I didn't get none of that. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Oh man.
How about now?
It's good now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it happens when you start making sense. Once you start telling the world how everything is, the devil comes in.
So I'm gonna give you a name. The name is Timmy Horn from Kansas State University. All the things you like about Ellis, but more athletic, more explosive, and better able to, if you want him also to do some one gap, he can do it. Ellis is pretty much two gap only. This is a guy who can do both. So if you haven't checked him out, check him out. He's going to be available late, probably all the way to the 7th. Yes. There are some people who are legitimate top 10 picks. All three of the top tackles are legitimate. Like, they've all the check. Character, check. Athletic ability, check. Durability, check. Right. That's what you want. To me, I don't want a guy that I'm worried about durability. I don't want a guy where I'm worried about character, where I'm worried about productivity, worried about athletic ability. I want him to have all of that if I'm taking him in the top 10. If not, trade down. There's players available that are really good at one or two things, but we don't have everything to offer. There's, once again, more than one round of the draft. But yeah, I think that's a terrific player, and I think that he's going to have a very, very, very nice NFL career. But yeah, I think that I like both of them. Like Ellis, but I prefer Warren a little bit, just because he has a little more oomph, a little more going on, a little more juice, if you
right
in this game.
Right. Hey, I love
a bunch of the receivers. We just talked about Chop. I mean, even some of the receivers won't go. In fact, they shouldn't go in the top 10 because it's an oversaturated market. There's no reason to take some of these guys so early. Chris Olave is terrific in every way that a receiver can be good. And he's going to probably be somewhere available in the 20s, right? Just because there's so many receivers in this class. Your guy Watson, I love him too. He's probably going in the second half of it. 26 to 30 is probably where he goes. I mean, if he goes to Kansas City, woo, right?
Over with, yeah.
Oh my! Oh, that would just be awful. But I mean, I could see it happening. So there's so much talent at the receiver group in this. So yes, there's several receivers I can say that about. I can say it about Wilson. I can say it about Olave. I can say it about your guy Watson. I could say it about. So many of the receivers. You can check off all the boxes. It's a ridiculously deep. It's just so deep.
Isaiah.
I mentioned the offensive lineman. Here's another guy, Zion Johnson. Now, people don't get all hot about guards. I get it because they're guards. But if I had to say who's the most bust-proof first rounder, the guy that you would bet the life of your child on, it would be Zion Johnson. I don't think anything short of career-ending injury is going to stop that guy from being a great 10-plus year pro.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you want is there. All the boxes checked.
He practiced at every offensive line position at the Senior Bowl, and people really taken back by that. We got some people who know Isaiah Weston, and I love his RAS score. Again, I look for athleticism, and then I look for the character. I obviously look for the tape first.
Right.
The athleticism is big. I'm not going to keep you too long.
Well, let's talk Weston just a little bit. So say you don't get Christian Watson. Do you want Christian Watson light? Because that's Isaiah Weston. And it's not way off. There's not a huge difference. You mentioned also your guy Pierce. Look at how closely those guys track in terms of their strengths and what they can do. Weston was in an offense that didn't pass the ball as much or as well as some offenses, but if he'd been in a different offense, people are talking about it much sooner than they are. Size, speed, blocking, hands. Not an amazing route runner at this point, but that's why you have coaches. But outside of great route running, Isaiah Weston has everything else. Yes, I'm a thumbs up on Isaiah Weston, but he may not be as late as you think. I think middle is probably safer. If he's there when you pick in the fourth, do it, because he could go anywhere in the fourth, and maybe some team might take him even late third. Though I think he probably makes it to the fourth.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, man. I got to give you a round of applause, man, because not only thank you for your service, but thank you for the dedication. There was a time I got up and I walked away because I said the same thing you said, and I got punished for it. I got laughed out of podcasts. I got all this other hate. And you said the same thing. And when you said Daxton Hill's hips was way better than Kyle Hamilton's.
But they are. That's not theory. We have athletic testing and tape that both say this guy can change direction more quickly and reaccelerate much more quickly. That's not even a knock. That's just factual information. I still like Kyle Hamilton. I still would love him as a deep middle guy, but he can't do at the same level all the things that Daxton Hill could play straight up corner if you needed him to. You can't ask Kyle Hamilton to just go out there and go defend, DK Metcalf. That's not going to work out. You can't do that with him. You could conceivably say to Daxton Hill, I need you to go check DK. We'll give you some help on some downs and distances, but I need you to go get DK. And he could do it. You can't do that with Kyle Hamilton. That's the difference.
You had some real interesting things about Okudah. And I really liked when I met you in the spaces you talked about Jeff Okudah.
He's not a bad player, but he doesn't fit what you guys really want in a corner, or at least what you want now. I don't know if maybe you were thinking about different things when you first got him. He's not a bad player. He doesn't. It's just the things that you want in a corner now. At least he's a zone corner, right? And that's not a bad thing necessarily. He's a guy that needs to.
He's not this guy. He's not Tariq Woolen.
No, he's not. No, he's definitely not that guy. Now, the things that you need to work on with a guy like Tariq. Once again, 2 years ago, the guy was a receiver, right? He's only been playing defense for about a year and a half, and he doesn't know all the fine points. Route recognition isn't great. His footwork is an adventure, but he can make up for it because of that incredible ability of just. I mean, his size and speed is not something you see every year. I mean, there won't be another guy like him for a while. But you're going to have to coach him up. He's not going to be a starter at first. He's a guy you're going to bring on in certain packages, and you're going to keep it simple for him, right? See that guy right there? You follow him wherever he goes. Hey, and if you see the ball, go get it. I mean, you're going to have to keep it simple for him at first. But could he eventually? Oh, it's about Luke Goedeke. Third round, if that's what you're asking where he gets picked. Third, fourth round. Somewhere in there. I guess what he's asking about Luke Goedeke. I guess.
No, that's a YouTuber. That's a Kyle Hamilton juggernaut in Detroit. He loves. Kyle.
Oh, I thought he meant Luke Goedeke. I didn't know what the. Okay, sorry, I didn't know what that.
Don't
meant.
worry.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking prospects. But back to what I was just saying. You have some players that you can get them on the field right away if you keep it very simple for them. So if you're going to get Woolen on the field quickly, you got to keep it very simple. I think he will get there. He's a hard worker. He wants to. He wants it. He wants to be good, but he's just not there yet because he was a receiver so recently.
Right, and Okuda's not going to be as fast, physical, or as.
He just doesn't have that level of special talent. No, he's not that. Was he a reach? Yes. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. He was a reach. He was a guy that you probably should have tried to trade down 7-8 spots, maybe even more, and see if he's still there.
Wow.
And pick up some extra stuff. Just because he needs to be in a very specific scheme. So if you guys wanted to go all straight up Seattle with it and just do that catch, that catch bail sort of cover 3 stuff, and you had elite level safety play over the top so that he doesn't have to worry about getting beat deep and he can just sort of, play in that, downfield hip and then dive at balls. He's got decent ball skills. I'll give him that. And he's fairly strong. I mean, not strong in terms of, see, I know you had a problem with this. He has physical strength in his body. It's the application of it that's been the issue.
I ain't got no problem. I ain't got no problem at all.
I mean, I know because people say, "What do you mean strong?" He's stronger than average at the quarterback position. He's stronger than most corners. The problem is he's not a press corner, and people get the things confused. There are guys who aren't super strong who are really good at press. Press is mostly about timing what you do with your hands. You could be, you think Deion Hamilton was you think Deion Sanders was like a powerhouse guy? No. Deion wasn't the strongest dude in the world, but could he press you? Yes, he could drive you crazy and press because he could be so patient with it. Right. You would think you're about to be free and then boom, boom, right? He could be on this side of you, and then now he's on the upfield side of you, and now he's long arming you, and now you're having to chop that arm out of the way, and now you're doing that. Now the route has been disrupted. Now the quarterback is expecting you to be somewhere, and you aren't there yet. Press, you can be a strong press corner, but you don't have to be strong to be a good press corner. A lot of the great press corners were finesse guys.
What do you think about safety with Okuda?
If I truly trusted his instincts, I would say yes to that, Marcus. I just don't have quite that level of trust in his instincts. I think if you asked him to do it, I think he would try. I think he'd work hard at it. I just worry about his instincts. But it's worth trying. I just think he's a zone corner. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think he's a zone corner. I think that's what he is. I think he's a cover 2, cover 3 corner who needs help over the top. And if you give him that help over the top and tell him you just be a cover 2, a cover 3 zone corner, I think you get a solid starter. Not great, not all pro, not Pro Bowl, but a solid starter.
He sounds like Kobe Bryant out of Cincinnati.
Who you can probably get a little bit later in the draft, yes.
Well, I'm not going to hold you, Bryant. Plug your stuff. I know some YouTubers are going to reach out to you because this is gold. This is gold, man. And your channel is amazing.
Thank you, sir.
I got it in the ticker down here. Obviously, I'm plugging a CDS director, HBCU scouting. Those HBCU prospects like Mac McClain last year.
Yes.
And McClain this year. There's a McClain this year.
Right. And I'll give you, one last thing before we go. So here's the guys that from HBCUs who I would bet will definitely be drafted. Joshua Williams from Fayetteville State. He can play either corner or safety. Great hips, great feet, good ball skills, really good size. The size is one, but some people think he can play safety. But I would try him at corner first, and then only if he doesn't pan out, then I move him to safety. I like that kid a lot. I think that somebody was going to get Ja'Tyre Carter and probably kick him inside the guard, but I think he's going to be a good, solid, productive pro. And here's the guy that I would like you guys to consider amongst HBCU players is Marquise Bell from FAM.
Yes.
Terrific athlete. Some people say, can he play corner? I mean, why mess with it? I think he's a safety. I think he's a good safety. I mean, could you throw him out there at corner and maybe kind of, but sometimes people are just messing with things and mess with things. Like the guy's a really good safety. Are you trying to just experiment? I mean, if you're just bored, whatever, get involved in board gaming or whatever. But the guy is a really good safety. Let him be a good safety.
A lot of people love Bell and Brisker in Detroit. That's a lot of people's mocks.
If you get both, you're set in your safety position for a decade. That would be awesome.
No Hamilton. You see how we set without Hamilton? It's almost like it's crazy. The fifth and second round. That's crazy. Oh man.
And you can spend your first round pick on a player that will give you tremendous impact. Like either you completely lock down one part of your offensive line, right? Like I said, if you drop one of those top like Iguanu, Cross, even Neal, though I'm not quite as high on Neal as the other two, but any of those guys, you drop them next to Sewell, right? Now look at what you can do.
Are you familiar that we have like we have a guard that doesn't have a sack on the year, had one sack on the year, and another guard that's a Pro Bowler, and another center that's a Pro Bowler as well? You familiar with that? So now
you get yourself a top tier tackle. Now you go from having a good offensive line to one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Right.
You drop Iguanu or Cross next to Penei Sewell, you're done with that position for a while.
Right. You don't like our left tackle either?
I'm trying to be accurate. I think that is a starting left tackle in the NFL. I'm talking about upgrading to somebody's going to go to like 3 or 4 all pros, like 5 or 6 Pro Bowls.
Yeah, I forget his name. I know he's there. I forget his name all the time.
Well, that tells you everything.
I'm not going to hold you. This has been a great broadcast. Where can we find your channel?
Sure. Okay. So if you go to Zinni62 Sports Media, Zinni62 Sports Media, and then I have like a little sub channel within it. It's called Bill Carroll's something, Scouting Notebook or something like that. I should pay more attention. But yeah, I'm so busy making content, so I just forget what it's called. But if you go to Zinni62 Sports Media, you'll find a bunch of stuff there, stuff from the HBCU Legacy Bowl, my thoughts about the Combine. I'll do one specifically on guys that are day 3 and maybe even undrafted free agents that I think will make an impact at the next level, what I call my blue light specials. That will be on Nuts and Bolts Sports. Okay, so I also do a bunch of stuff for them. So if you go to Nuts and Bolts Sports YouTube channel, you'll find the stuff I'm going to be doing. I call my blue light specials. Guys like Jason Poe, right? Watch out for Jason Poe. You guys don't really need a guard, but people are sleeping on him. He's a terrific guard.
We need a guard. Okay. We need definitely a guard, a center, something like that.
Oh, well then look into Jason Poe. He's working on snapping, but he's really a guard, but he's working on, in case somebody wants to play center, he's working on it.
Right.
So I'll talk about him. I'll talk about guys like Shamar Bridges. I have a bunch of guys I want to talk about. That's my sort of.
How many prospects have you looked at? How many prospects is your slide deck?
So about 400. I spent a lot of time on this.
A YouTuber told me it's not his job to know the prospects and he's getting paid until the draft. It's not his job to know until the draft. And you out here got 400. You
can't to me, it's too late. Because by the time the draft, first of all, people ask me questions. How could I say, I'll tell you after the draft? Like, how's that look?
You got a platform. You got reach, influence.
So, and let me give you a couple of friends of mine. I want you guys to check out. Ben Fennell is one of those guys who works in the quote unquote truck for NFL Network. if you aren't following Ben Fennell, first of all, what are you doing with your life? He's one of the guys that feeds the truck during the draft. He's a terrific researcher and he knows football. He's a bright guy. He's a fantastic follow. And he and I talk back and forth about players all the time. And sometimes I'll feed him somebody. Sometimes he'll feed me somebody. Yes, exactly. That's a must follow. My guy, Geometrics, Jim Coburn. Jim has done data work on players at some position dating back to 1958. So as somebody once said, yeah, you may have a spreadsheet, but mine's bigger. Yes, look at my boy Jim Coburn. Yes, he's awesome. He's amazing. I'll give you one or two film guys to check out. Damian Parsons, right? My boy Damian Parsons I think is a must follow. He's really, really good. He's young, but he's detailed. I feed him guys sometimes, and he does a great job with it. And one day he'll be feeding me because he's one of those guys I can tell, like the arrow's pointed way up on that kid. I can stop calling him a kid. He's a young man, that young man, but he's going to be terrific at this. Like he's going to be for real deal. Like he's headed up there. Those are guys that if you aren't following them, I highly recommend you follow them. They're really, really good. And yeah, right. Avery. Yes, definitely. Yes. Right. There we go. Some love for the man himself.
You've vindicated me a lot today, man. They know they seen it. They seen it over there. It was a rough time when I said Alex Pierce was the second best receiver in the draft. You don't know nothing.
I don't like him quite as much as you like him, but it's not because he's not that good. It's because there's so many receivers this year. But would I take him in the second and feel good about it? I sure would. I would take him in the second and feel great about it. And as you said, if you don't, the Packers will.
Right. The Packers will. I'm not going to let this run too long. Bill, thank you. God bless you. We're going to do this again probably after the draft.
Here's what I'll go you one better. Or not one better, one day. So every year we do a 7-round mock draft. The 8th year, I guess. I thought it was the 7th year. I lost count. It's actually the 8th annual mock draft to Palooza. I would like you to sit on the judges panel unless you somehow have time to participate, but it's a lot of time. So I'm gonna assume you won't have that kind of time. But it's the weekend prior to the draft, and I have a blue ribbon commission or whatever of people who look at the draft, and the top 3 get probably a gift card or whatever I can afford basically. But but it's 16 GMs, each with one NFC and one AFC team, and it'll be live broadcast or simulcast, really, because it'll go out on YouTube, it'll be on StreamYard, and it'll be on TalkShoe. But yes, it'll be a bunch of guys who really love this stuff, who really dig deep, and you get to see a simulation of a live 7-round mock draft. We'll do rounds 1 and 2 on Friday. Saturday will be rounds 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll finish up on Sunday with rounds 6 and 7. So
you want me to be a judge? You don't want me to be picking for the Lions?
Oh, I mean, I'm fine with you doing that. I didn't know if you had that kind of time. It's a long 3 days.
I'm in for it. I spent 8 hours a day studying these prospects. Okay. I appreciate you, man.
Okay. We can make that happen. I also need you to pick up an AFC team. So think about who you might want on that side too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. KFC, Kansas City. The spirit of Kansas City coming soon if they draft Christian Watson.
Man, if they – I mean, that's just – when you think about it, oh, my gosh. Ugh. Right. And they put Kelsey and Watson to the same side, and and then they throw screens, right? Because both those guys can block.
Woo! We got a real scout on the channel. We got a real scout. Told y'all about Darryl Hamilton. I told y'all. Oh, man.
I want to make it clear he's a really good football player. Like, I don't want people walking around thinking that I said he was trash or something. I'm just saying, if you want a guy who can do everything, play corner if you need him to, play nickel, play free safety, and maybe even strong safety, he's not quite that. Just because of his ability to change direction and run with receivers. He just can't do that at the same level a guy like Daxton Hill or Jalen Petrie can. That's not a knock. It's just what he is and what he isn't.
I just put him in the same class as I put Jared Goff. Fugazi. And on that note,
now I didn't say all that. That's him. That's him.
Like, comment, subscribe for more thought-provoking content like this. Love y'all. Go subscribe to Bill. Go follow him on Twitter Spaces. This guy is amazing.
Thank you.
Any last words? All right.
That was
We out
awesome.
of here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.